not gonna be together. This ain't no damn unity party with punks. This ain't no unity party with people who don't want the true liberation of black people. This ain't no unity party with betrayers and snitchers and hypocrites and weak-minded, weak-blooded, spineless black people. This ain't that kind of party. So you take your raggedy ass on home. But those who want liberation, those who want to see black people really free at last, you walk away from these punctified Negroes unless you unite the like-minded of us, whether we are Christians or Muslims or nationalists or agnostics or socialists. If we are like-minded on reparations and on justice for our people, we are brothers indeed. But a black face ain't gonna make you no brother today. Go ahead. We tired of these black-faced, white-hearted niggas. Go ahead, say that. Masquerading as though you love your people. We see you.
Man. Hashtag mood. Hashtag set the tone. Liberation Minded Media in the building. We're going to continue the work of bringing forth. I mean, because like if you've been watching Liberation Minded Media for an extended period of time, then you know one of my main themes or one of my main things to do is to expose what I call the counterintelligence 2.0. And there's shills on both sides. I mean, this thing runs simultaneously representing all sides of the coin, both sides of the coin. So we have the Democratic shills who are in place to mislead us, to shill for one side of the coin, one wing of the bird. And you got the Republican side. They're shills, they're operatives. Now they operate differently because they have different orders and different agendas, but it's all the same at the end of the day. And for us to be sophisticated in politics, then we have to be able to understand both sides of the coin. We have to be able to identify when games are being played in our face. Let me just like give you a brief understanding of the 5% as told by Elijah Muhammad in the Nation of Islam, just so we can get a framework going. So later on, when I reference certain things or certain ideas or certain concepts, it'll be easy to understand. Don't get hung up on the numbers and the percentages. I'm going to say, just understand the concept. So for those who aren't familiar with Elijah Muhammad and the theory of the 5%. So according to Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam, the 5% are those who are wise and knowing and righteous and understand the truth of God and the devil. I'm not talking about a God in the sky or no devil under the ground. Just understands propaganda, understands the games the media and politicians play, understands what real good and what real evil is, can see the games that are played by the puppeteers. That's the 5%, the poor righteous teachers. Then you have the 10%. Like I said, these percentages don't have to be exact. Understand the concept. Then you have the 10%, which is the rich poor makers, those who rule. We would say that might be the media, the bankers, the politicians on a high level, those who are orchestrating white supremacy globally. That would be the 10%. Some people now call them the 1%. Then you have the 85%. The 85% are the masses, most people, those who aren't really into politics. They're not really into looking behind the veil. They're not really looking multi-levels deep into a situation. They're just taking the media and entertainment for what it is. That would be the 85%. Some of us would call them sheep. Yeah, we're going to church today. We're going to school today. Shabbat shalom to my Israelite brothers. We're going to school today. because that's what we do here on Liberation Minded Media. Proper narrative, proper teaching, proper thinking. So with those kind of dynamics in mind, understand that when we're watching this play out on a national or global stage, you have those who are orchestrating Fugazi, those who speak against it, and then you have the 85. So the current situation we're in or have been in is that the 10%, right? The wicked, those who are in power, those who control, those who are good with the status quo, the 10% has control over the minds of the masses, which is the 85%. So even though us that would call ourselves 5% or poor righteous teachers, or those of us who understand on a different level, those of us who are woke or conscious is the word that we really use. The woke word is something else that, that's some commercialized bullshit. So those of us who are the 5%, it's hard for us to break through to the 85% because the 10% controls the media. This is what makes this revolutionary period that we're in right now with technology leveraging our ability to have narrative. This is why the new black media is so important now, because now everything's not just controlled by radio and TV. Now everyone is decentralized in their ability to have a platform or to engage with platforms. So this is why it's important, even with a smaller channel, that we broadcast these messages out, that we signal boost these ideas of true liberation, which starts mentally. All right. What's good, Dumpy? So what I'm going to show you here is we're going to go through two different people. And another reason why, because you have to connect all of this stuff, right? So I'm going to show you, I think he's a lieutenant governor from North Carolina, which I've shown you some of his clips before, months ago, because he's a coon. And I'm going to show you a little bit of Michael Eric Dyson. We're going to start with Michael Eric Dyson, and then we're going to move our way to Mark Robinson. But the reason why I want to show you this is because this is nothing different than the Myron Gaines, the Tommy Sotomayors, you know what I'm saying? These other tethers or coons that work against us. Some of them work blatantly against us. Some of them try to act like they're with us and sabotage us and mislead us from within. It's the same thing. So when we're talking about some of these smaller platform people who disrespect us, who mislead us, who undermine us, who speak against us, who are hateful against us, like this is different levels. We have them in government too. Or we have them in mainstream media as figures before our eyes. So we have to be able to identify it, not just on the upper levels where they may have a bigger influence, but we have to be able to recognize them even on the smaller platform levels. All right, so let's start off with Michael Eric Dyson. For those who aren't familiar, let me just give you a little bit of taste of some of his commentary. Let's go.
God forgive me for my brash delivery, but I remember vividly what these streets did to me. Imagine me allowing you to nitpick at me, portray me like a pickaninny. He's saying, forgive me for my brash delivery because look, I'm from the streets. I'm dealing with grammar, construction, ideas that are up against the dominant mindset and worldview. And so I'm not going to allow you to try to chump me. He doesn't even say pickaninny. He condenses the word grammatically and makes a neologism, a new word. And he says, you ain't going to disrespect.
Put the sound there. Hold up. Check. You in the building? We still good? What's up? All right, I don't know why I cut out then. But anyway, that's Michael Eric Dyson. He's been on CNN, I think MSNBC. He's an intellectual. I think he's like a Harvard or from some prestigious university. He may be a professor. He's a procurer of black thought as advertised to us by the mainstream media. Okay, he's supposed to be down with us. He's about the black power. He's about articulation of the intricacies of you know what I mean. He's one of those. And I'm not saying I don't agree with some of the things he says. I'm just saying, just understand when they put these people repeatedly in front of us, it's typically because they're playing ball at some level. I'm not saying that you can't get on mainstream and get a segment in Fox News or MSNBC. I'm not saying that you can't be a real one and get in there, but we can identify when you're a real one. And when you're a real one, they don't repeatedly invite you on typically. So just understand that a lot of what he says is game, is fugazi. He tries to shame us. He's a shill for the Democrats. So he tries to always get us on board with the Democrats. He tries to shame black men if we're not getting down with whatever program they want us to get down with. He tries to play this fake black love for the sisters and browbeat brothers like, oh, you ain't treating these sisters right, and you need to get you a chocolate decadence of loveliness and a mocha, a beautiful mocha gorgeousness of galash, and it's like no, you know what I'm saying? He's one of those, is what I'm saying, basically. And he get called out. He got called out. He got called out, and now he's going through some things because, of course, as he advocates for our liberation and equity and equality, the nigga was trying to get with Becky behind the scene. He wasn't just trying to get with a Becky. Let's get it. He wasn't even just trying to get with a Becky. Like I said before, when these Negroes that really just want acceptance, they don't want acceptance of white people just from the good white folks. You know, the ones that just live their life, they work, you know what I'm saying? They might have some black friends. They're not trying to, harm or be a detriment to black people. They're not, just a regular white boy. Might work at Starbucks, you know what I'm saying? Just some regular shit. That's not the acceptance they want. They always want the acceptance from the hardcore white supremacists. And typically I wouldn't be speaking about this from someone who's on the left or someone who's more quote unquote supposed to be on our side. Usually you would think that only happens when it comes to those far right, crazy, self-hating Negroes. Those are the ones that really just want the pat on the back from the white supremacists. Those are the Myron Gaines, the Tommy Sotomayor's, you know what I'm saying, the Sneakos, the Jesse Lee Petersons, those kind of cats, the Sheriff David Clarks, the Candace Owens. They want that pat on the head from the hard, staunch white supremacists who hate them. But at the end of the day, even the shills on the other side obviously want the same thing. So let's start off. This is Michael Eric Dyson. He was on CNN speaking to I think she's like a Republican senator or something like that, and she's one of those ones that's towing the line for the alt-right. We're gonna say everything except nigger. We obviously don't like black people. She's on that side of the game. So this is this is them going back and forth about her purposely mispronouncing Kamala's name, Kamala, whatever, purposely mispronouncing it just out of spite. And this is him acting like he's down with the sisters, and you can't be disrespecting our sisters like that, white Becky. Here we go.
About rerun Kamala's
you had it right. You almost got it.
I will say Kamala's name any way that I want to.
No,
but
you mispronounced her and you also misjudged her.
I just did, and I'll do it again.
Mispronouncing
her name.
That's what we're doing to acknowledge her humanity.
If I purposely mispronounce your name, that would not be appropriate.
Policies are Joe Biden's policies. She owns
You're
it.
normalizing that kind of viciousness, man.
33 times.
She was the deciding vote.
She was the vice on Joe Biden's bill.
We know that
33 times the deciding vote on Joe Biden's bills in the Senate.
She has to own them because she was his vice president. However, we all know that the vice president is not setting the policies. The president is.
That wasn't the full clip I wanted. I wanted a clip where he like kind of breaks it down, like, oh, you're disrespecting her by doing this and that, blah, blah, blah. But we got more though. We got more. But nevertheless, what happened is he quote unquote tried to check her for saying certain things. And this is what I want you to understand about these cones and these shills from both sides. They're fake. They're absolutely fake. They really don't mean us any good. Listen, I'm not mad that he tried to get with a white girl. I don't care. Okay? I mean, I'm gonna be real. If you're married to the other side, that's a red flag, and I'm gonna have to take anything you say with a grain of salt. Not because it's not possible that you really can be about black people and be married to a non-black, but just on GP, you're gonna have to prove to me that much harder that you really stand where you say you stand. Because if you're sleeping with someone else who obviously innately has a whole different way of looking at things, a whole different perspective, a whole different code, and not able to truly identify and understand our struggle, I'm going to see that a certain kind of way. Now, if you just want to pop you a white broad, that's your business. I don't care. But when you're hunkering down on a day-to-day, I'm just going to assume that some of their ways are going to likely influence what you say, especially when you do that and then you go, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be critical. But anyway, that's a whole different subject. So anyway, so apparently what happened is, let's go ahead and show you, is after they had their back and forth. I wish I could just get the whole thing, man. Hold up. I want to get the whole, he didn't say enough on that one. I want to get to where he was like actually trying to check her while still saying that she's such a lovely human being and some crazy shit, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it. So we're gonna go ahead with this. So I guess after the segment, after they were live, did their thing on CNN, he sends a bunch of text messages to her. He sends the picture that they took backstage, hugged up, and I guess he asked for extra pictures. Like, they took a picture, then he wanted another one and another one because he just wanted to be close to Becky. You know what I'm saying? He might have him a thing for the snow bunnies. And he texts her this: "Shh, don't tell anybody. We look good together." Smiley face, kissy emoji. Wow. You know, like, look. And she just hits you back with the ha 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 ha. All right. She's just trying to, okay, that's cool. That's funny. Yeah, great. And then he goes, "Well, your gorgeousness makes the photos. So there's that." Smiley face. Now, let's be real. As a man, right? As a man, and women know when somebody's trying to get at them, even on the subtle. But as a man, we know what this is, right? We know what this is. This is one of those subtle, hey, let me just throw this out there. Let me see if she bites. He doesn't really have game like that, because if he really had game, he would have never even tried to approach her, period. Like, you got to read the room. You got to read the room, and you got to understand, you got to think about your reputation. You're supposed to be representing blackness. You're already light skinned. No disrespect to my light skinned brothers and sisters, but you're already kind of light skinned. So, you know, I don't want to get into the colorism, but it's like, come on, you already look like you might be half white. So unfortunately, the criticism may be that much more greater on you. So you can't make these kind of mistakes, is what I'm saying. And I don't mean that in any kind of colorism, disrespect to the light skins. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, like, just realistically, this is going to be even that worse of a look, because according to what some of my light-skinned brothers say, they're always looked at a little bit harder and scrutinized a little bit more when they're speaking on black shit because of them being light-skinned. So now you just did a bad look for the light-skinned brothers out there, man. You got them looking crazy. And you're supposed to represent blackness. That's your whole gig. That's your whole shtick. That's why you get booked on the CNNs, to represent the black guy, the almost radical, the black guy who's not afraid to really say what it really is and speak truth to power. That's kind of like your shtick. That's what they get you on these left-leaning mainstream media platforms for, to represent that. Right? So when you're going to have a quote-unquote debate, or you're going to be on the same panel as a far right-leaning, alt-right white supremacist chick, and then behind the scenes you're trying to hit her up to mac on her, that just doesn't look good. It's not smart. Now, if she gave you a reason to think that she wanted to get smashed, if she gave you a reason to think that she was really feeling you and you really had a chance, then I get it. I don't think she would have gave you that kind of vibe, though. And you not being able to read the room on something like that's not just weird, but it's gameless. And then for you to put yourself out there, knowing she's a public figure and she could easily expose you. And I get it. You didn't take it too far. It was just a little bit of flirting. It was just a little bit of, fishing. You throwing the line out there, seeing if anything nibbles. But we know what it is, and everybody knows what it is. So now when she exposed this dude, she got him looking crazy. Let's get it.
I would like to also enter into the record
a screenshot of a text message I received from the esteemed professor from Vanderbilt, Michael Eric Dyson, after my CNN interview, begged me for photos. In this text, he says, after calling me racist on CNN, shh, don't tell anybody, we look good together, and sent me a kissy emoji.
Without
then
objection.
the guy
Order.
says I'm gorgeous in all these photos. I don't think he's that bent out of shape on how anyone pronounces Kamala. And if we're going to have that standard, you got to hold it to both sides, not just one or the other. I would like to also enter into the record a screenshot of a text message I received from the esteemed professor from Vanderbilt, Michael Eric Dyson, after my CNN interview, begged me for photos. In this text, he says, after calling me racist on CNN, shh, don't tell anybody, we look good together, and sent me a kissy emoji.
Without
then
objection.
the guy
Order.
says I'm gorgeous in all these photos. I don't think he's that bent out of shape on how anyone pronounces Kamala. And if we're going to have that standard, you got to hold it to both sides, not just one or the.
Here's what happens when you make a stupid fatal mistake like that, brother Michael. Shout out to Don P though. Shout out to Don P. I appreciate that. But here's the problem when you make a mistake like that. Not only now did you see when these cats crash out, they have nowhere to go. This is what you have to understand. This is the point I was making last week or whatever it was. I did that live stream about the tethers are what is that said? Tethers are something creatures, delusional creatures. You see, when you crash out, you have nowhere to go. Because if you're one of them alt-right self-hating Negroes, you've already cut off your black lineage. And then once they're done with you, and they will be done with you at some point, you have nowhere to go. Now, when you're a shill acting like you're down with us, of course, most of the people may not be able to peep game because the 85%, the sheep. But for those of us who know, and that number is growing every day, we peep game. We can see it as game as what it is. So now when you get caught up in some shit like this, now it's like, we can't fuck with you. You've already put yourself at contrast to the white supremacist majority of white people. You know what I'm saying? Now you look like a fool. And you did it because you were thirsty. Because you were thirsty for a Becky. She's not even that great looking. Let me explain. Let me tell you guys something. Let me tell you, brothers, if you've never been with a Becky and you think that they're cute, and that's just the best thing you could ever get. They ain't all that. They're not. I ain't gonna front. Yeah, I smashed some Beckys. I've smashed everything under the rainbow as far as nationalities. You know what I'm saying? I'm not ashamed to say it. What I'm saying is this, though. The cutest white chick, after the makeup and all that shit, they're all basic. They're all basic at the end of the day. You trust me. There's nothing special about snow bunnies at all. Don't get it twisted. It's not like some forbidden fruit, some taboo. I just gotta have it. It's better. No, it's not. It's not. And this isn't me disrespecting white chicks. I'm just saying, when the makeup and the hair and all that shit, and get out the shower and they're pale and pasted. I'm just saying they're nothing special. It's not a status symbol because you didn't smash the Becky. So when you go out of your way and you put yourself on Front Street, trying to get with a Becky that you know is leaning on the white supremacist side, and then you get exposed, it's a wrap. Now you look foolish. Now we got this cat, you know what I'm saying? Now he's crying and, oh gosh, you're a sorry, sick soul. This is him now, staying to the same chick that you just saw him trying to get with. You're a sorry, sick soul. Michael Eric Dyson rips into Representative Nancy Mace's claims he flirted with her in text, accuses her of trying to exploit the situation. Now you got to play these games. You got to start with this bullshit. When we seen what it is, we all know what it was. Yes, you left yourself deniable plausibility just based on the fact that you didn't just straight up say, hey, I like to smash. Hey, let's go on a date. Can I buy you a drink? Let's get together. No, you didn't say anything that forward. But any woman knows it when she's being hit on, typically. And anybody from the outside, any brother who's, you know what I'm saying, sometimes certain situations you can't just go full throttle. You got to just kind of throw out a little filler bet, as we'd say in poker. Let's just see what they're hitting for. And that's what you did. So Michael Eric Dyson fiercely denounced the suggestions that he flirted with Congresswoman Nancy Mace after CNN interview last month in which she alleged that he called her racist. He didn't really call her racist, but he kind of implied it. That interview featuring the South Carolina lawmaker and the Vanderbilt professor made headlines after Mace repeatedly mispronounced Vice President Kamala Harris's name during the segment and refused to correct herself. Dyson never called her racist on air, but explained why her behavior was problematic. When you disrespect Kamala Harris by saying you will never call her that you will call her whatever you want, I don't know. You don't intend it to. Wait, I know you don't intend it to be that way. That's the history and legacy of white disregard for the humanity of black people, Dyson told Mace in the interview. He said that on there. During a congressional hearing, she aired him out. And then here's him coming back though. Here's him. Oh no, that's her, right? I think there's a video of him too. There we go. And then I guess this is his video. Let's go ahead and check it out.
Hey, my friends, Michael Eric Dyson here. Just want to clear something up. A vicious untruth and rumor that's being spread by Congresswoman Nancy Mace, claiming I was trying to hit on her. So I'm trying to figure this out. So this is our complete text exchange that she says proves I was trying to hit on her. We were on CNN together. She was vicious. She was nasty. She refused to call Kamala Harris by her right name. We had a bitter exchange about that. She claims in the interview that I called her racist when I went out of my way to say she wasn't a racist. I said, you're a wonderful woman. But let me say this to you, because I know you probably didn't understand this or mean it. But when you call.
See, that's the first problem. That's your first strike. That's your first problem. And the first reason why we don't trust you. We don't trust niggas like this for a reason. Because we don't have time to be playing these games like, oh, I know you're not meaning to be racist. We know when they're meaning to be racist. They don't have to say the N-word anymore to be outright, blatantly racist. In fact, most of the reason they don't have to say the N-word is because they have coons that will do that for them, and we'll get to that later. But for these Democratic shills, these bleeding heart liberals, and I hate using terms like liberal, conservative, but it fits in this situation. For you cats that claim you represent us and that you really go to bat for us and you're standing on business for black folks, we can't trust you when you can't even call out a racist. Oh, no, you're a wonderful human being. I'm sure you don't mean it like that. No, she meant it like that. She knows exactly what she's doing. They know exactly what they're doing. If you don't have enough game recognition to peep that, well, that explains why you would do something so foolish as to try to mac on her after the show was over, which just further proves why you're disqualified for representing FBA. You can't represent us. We can't take any type of representation. And this is why we can't take representation from the likes of this, the likes of Mark Lamont Shill, Moist Lamont Shill, the likes of Don Lemonade. Yeah, on the left and the right, the Republican shills, the Democratic shills, the ones who act like they're with us and those who are blatantly against us to appease white people. We can't fuck with none of them. We have to have our own apparatus of representation. That's what the new black media is. That's what this new awakening is. That's what liberation-minded media is. That's us getting on code and delineating. The purpose is because of cats like this who don't represent us. It's not just for the tethers. It's not just for the coons. It's also for those who try to camouflage themselves as us to represent us. So if you can't call out a blatant racist and you still have to soft you around, oh, no, she's not racist. No, she's a wonderful human being. You didn't mean it like that. I know you didn't really mean it. No, she meant it. They mean it. They're not hiding it. So for you not to be able to acknowledge it means you can never truly represent us. How can you? How can we trust you to stand on business for reparations and justice and equality when you can't even call a racist and you dance around it? When you try to give them the benefit of the doubt, when you know or should know what their MO is.
Call Kamala Harris out of her name, that is perpetuating a legacy of inequality and of white subordination of black people. Oh, so you called me a racist? No, I didn't. So she's looking for some reason to try to exploit the situation This is the text exchange. I sent her, Abby Phillip, the host of the show, suggested we take pictures. I said, let's take a picture. She said, Abby said, when you post it, then tag me too. And then we'll have fun. Because the whole point was two bipolar opposites. Michael Eric Dyson on one side, Nancy Mace on the other. So I sent her and she said, great pick. And I said, shh, don't tell anybody. We look good together, with a laughing face and a kissy face. And my point was, shh, don't tell anybody, because we are bipolar opposites.
Nah. Unless you just don't know how this macking goes on the internet, I could try to give you some type of benefit of doubt for that. But kissy face, come on, man. You blew her a kiss, dog. Like, that's subtle. That's macking. That's flirting. That's subtle. Let me see what's going on. It is, man. We just be real about it. You shot your shot. It didn't work. It was foolish because you should have known it wasn't going to work. Should have known that. You should know the games that white chicks will play to get you to mac on them, just so they could exploit you and do the shit that she did. You fell for a trap, to say the least. But you really trapped yourself. And now you find yourself in a situation where you got a niggas playing out of it, and it's not going to work.
You're on one side of the spectrum, and I'm on the other side of the spectrum. And she said, ha, 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 ha. And I said, well, your gorgeousness makes the photo, so there's that.
Yeah, so there's that. Nigga, there's you trying to compliment her. You're gorgeous. You're gorgeous, white girl. If I could just suck on those vanilla tapioca loveliness and lusciousness of the almond milk pouring on my face as I, come on, man. You know what you was trying to do, dog. And it's cool. You just got caught up. Like, it doesn't make me look at him any differently, because I would never put him trying to get with a white girl and make that a bigger issue for me than the fact that I know he's a soft shoe shill trying to get us on the Democratic Party. That's more detrimental to me, I would think. The fact that he's trying to just get us to rock with any Democrat that comes through, and he's pretending that he really feels what we're on, but he really doesn't. That's more detrimental than if you just want to put your pole into some snow. That's your personal business. I don't care about that. At the end of the day, it just so happens now it has you looking like a fool. It just so happens that these shills from both sides just happen to crash out the same weekend. And understand something. Capabilities are the measurement for danger, not intentions. Let me explain what I mean by that. Since we're talking about these Mark Lamont shills, these Don Lemonades, these, these people that shill for one side or the other, right? Understand how white supremacists gauge their threats. It's not by intentions, it's by capabilities. So even if they feel your intentions, like, for instance, if you're on the far right, like the story we're about to get into, and you're spewing that hatred for black people, you're different. You just like the white folks. Hey, I hate these niggers too. If you're trying to play that game, they'll tolerate it. But understand that if they only like you because you're the black guy who doesn't like other black people, that means by default they don't like black people. So that means by default they don't really like you. And this is the delusion that some of these cats, I think, are under. They really think, Uncle Ruckus, that they're different, and that they're going to be actually accepted. No, they're tolerated only because they're useful. When they're no longer useful, they're discarded. Because white people, the white supremacists, I should say, in the power dynamic, they gauge capabilities over intentions. So your intentions may be to go against your own people. But if we give you the capabilities to have too much power and influence, that could be a detriment to us. This is how the white supremacists are thinking. This is how they gauge it. The reason why they don't want other countries having nuclear arms isn't because they think they intend to use them against the United States. Only one country has ever used nukes, and that is the United States. So they don't want these other countries not to have nukes because they think what their intentions are. They don't want them to have the capabilities, because intentions can change. You might be a well-intended good nigger, Uncle Ruckus, Steven from Django, you're going to keep the rest of the niggas in line. But if we give you too much of capabilities to have influence and power and strength, one day your intentions may change. So they won't let you get big enough to have that type of a capability that they're going to see as a threat. This is why they got rid of Mark Lamont, the shill, Moist Lamont, the shill from CNN. Before he got too big, they got rid of him. But first they had him denounce Farrakhan. And then within a month, they fired him anyway. Can't let him get too big. His intentions could change. He might be on our side now. He might soft shoe for us now. He might be an advocate and talk all that homosexual rights and transgenders and let me shit on Dr. Queen Frances Wilson. He might be on the vibration we need him to now, but if we let him get too big and his capabilities grow too much, if his intentions change, it could be too much for us to reel in. So we got to cap your growth. Roland Martin, cap your growth. We got to get you off the set. You're not really helping us anyway because black folks don't fuck with you like that, so you're useless. So we got to cap your growth anyway. This is how they look at it. Same thing with their alt-right people. They're not going to let them get too big or too influential because they're gauging threats based on capabilities more than intention.
And a little smiley face. Again, I'm just saying that trying to be nice to her in the belief and the effort that if I'm nice to her and I prove that we don't have any bitter consequences from our fracas on television, that we can be relatively kind to each other, and I'm being nice to her.
Right, you can be kind to each other in bed. You was thinking that you might have a chance. And this is what these lames do, these gameless lames, man. They risk it all over a bride. This is what you call simping. He put too much value into some snow bunny who he should know he doesn't have a chance with, or even if he did, she's not a big deal at the end of the day. But you don't risk your reputation and being embarrassed publicly before the world because you're trying to get in some pink cookies. You don't do that. Not only that, you should read the room better. You should have a better gauge. Like at a certain age, like when I was younger, it was like everything. I was just whatever I hit. It was a numbers game. You get through the nose, you get to the yes. That's how the game was when I was younger, right? Anything. I'm in high school driving. I see some, you know what I'm saying, women at the bus stop and pulling over. Hey, what's up? Hey, fuck you, nigga. Okay, whatever. Hey, what's up? You know what I'm saying? You know, you just spray gunning everything. When you get older, you refine your method. When you get older, you're able to see the kind of signs that makes you understand your success rate being a lot higher. So you become like a sniper almost, to where you know you're hitting something because you're already getting the signals before you let off. So that way your close ratio should be much higher when you're older, my opinion, at least. So the fact is you're still on that silly shit. You were just hoping and it backfired. And now people are going to clown you. So now we can't trust you because we see behind the scenes you're trying to sleep with the enemy. And I don't just mean the enemy because she's white. I mean because her ideology. Like you just called her out for being everything but racist. And now you're trying to get with her? That's weird. That's weird. So we can't trust you. The alt-right already don't trust you. Even the whites that aren't so alt-right, they still have a inclination to preserve their lineage. So the idea of you getting with one of their lily white, pristine, pure snow bunnies perturbs them as well. So now they don't trust you. Plus now you look like, you know what I'm saying, almost, I won't say you look like a creep because it's not creepy to try to shoot your shot. But when you shoot your shot and it doesn't work, then you turn around and you start, now you're looking like a weirdo.
There's no hitting on you. I said, by the way, I've spoken twice at the Citadel. She said, oh, that's awesome. And sent 3 American flags. And I hit the exclamation point. She put a heart on the well, your gorgeousness makes the photo. So there's that. Then she removed.
So are you still trying to like, you know what I'm saying, imply that you thought you had some action or what?
The heart 2 days later because she knew she was up to some mayhem.
Right. And you should already know that. Like if listen, if I was to give him the benefit of the doubt, it wasn't flirting, he was just, you know, just trying to be nice and cordial, maybe just try to make a connection because she is a representative and this and that. Maybe that might help him network in some kind of way. If I was going to take that and give him the benefit of what he's saying, I would still have to say you're disqualified. You're not qualified to represent FBA because you can't read the room enough. Because you can't navigate through these white supremacists and their intentions and these white women and how they set up niggas, especially these alt-right racist ones. Like if you can't navigate through that, if that's an obstacle for you, if you would put yourself in that type of situation, that means you would probably put us in a situation that would be compromised. You can't speak for us. You can't represent us. And you're making elementary mistakes like this. You're too old to be making these type of mistakes. You're too old to be trying to get with some white supremacist or get yourself in a situation like this, where you're sending messages back and forth that could seem like you're trying to get with her. And then when you get called out, all of a sudden you go ballistic. You got yourself in a sticky situation. And if that is how easily you're manipulated or get caught up, you cannot possibly represent us. We can't have that type of representation at this day and age. We're delineating from detriments of representation when it comes to us. That's what this is all about. So you didn't make the cut. I mean, say what you want. These are the messages right here. Don't tell anybody we look good together. Come on, man. What else is that supposed to mean? Well, you're gorgeous. Your gorgeousness makes the photos. So there's that. Oh, gosh, please give me some. Maybe we can meet up if we're in the same city. I'm at a hotel here. Come on, man. Dog. You know what you was doing. We know what you was doing. We ain't even playing these games. Fuck all that. But now, get to the next story. Let me see what everybody's saying about here, man, before we continue. We got Don P in the building, man. What's up? And we got Ansel 1961. Let me see what they're saying. What's good? Eric Dyson, the original Braxton. You know damn well all them pro-black, blackity black blacks will smash Becky any chance they get, including the rainbow pro-blacks. Well, I'm not going to say all of them will do that. I'll just say there's a significant amount of them that will. And like I said before, I don't care. Listen, I really don't care. Listen, if you're Black Power, you're all about the business, and you're really standing on business, and in your personal life, maybe you're at the club and ain't nothing hitting, and all you got action with this Becky, and she's gonna gawk you in the fucking parking lot, or you're gonna smash it. I don't care. It's not my business. I'm not mad at that. I don't care. When you put them in the realm of being in your life to where there's executive decisions that they're weighing in on, and it's a problem. Like I said, every black person who's married to a white person doesn't mean that they're a coon. Not every single time, but it's safe to assume at first that they are. And then it's an uphill battle for them to prove that they're not. So if you're really about that business, yes, there is something to be said about who you lay with. So I'm not going to say just across the board if you try to, and I'm not going to say that all blackity blacks try to do that, but a significant amount do. And especially the ones that are cosplaying and it's not really in them, it's on them. And they're just, you know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of that. So I'll give you that. What else we got? No disrespect taken, Don P. I'm assuming that means from the light skin shit I was saying. And it was, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't supposed to be disrespectful at all. Not if you got game and you're wise enough to understand pushback if it's exposed. Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, look, your intentions are your intentions, but if you put yourself in a situation to be exploited like that, and it should have been understood that there was a high chance that that would happen, considering who you're dealing with. If anything, you should have kept it straight PG, cordial. And then if she got at you, you could have, snapshotted that, screenshotted that, and used that later if you needed. That could have been some backup ammo that you could have used against her if necessary. You know what I'm saying? But you got to let her make those kind of moves. And you got to be able to read the room, like I said, enough to know, like, you should have known that's not the one. Now, there are some of those white girls who be on that alt-right, racist shit that do fuck with niggas. They exist. They really do. I wouldn't suggest you even trying to knock that shit, but I'm saying they do exist. But if you get caught up because you don't have enough game to maneuver through things like that and avoid pit traps, and if you're so thirsty that you putting yourself in compromising situations that you should know are likely to lead to some fuckery, if you can't gauge, if you don't have enough game to figure that kind of shit out, you can't be representing us. Van Jones, yep, there's another one. Don Lemonade, pro-black. Where was I? As a matter of fact, Dyson is a bigger cornball than I thought. He got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Take this L, your dignity, but with dignity. How's that for a 3-syllable word? Dunka. Explain in your simplest ways. Oh, Eric, insult their intelligence. This is cringy. See a lot of I think you meant game goofy dudes don't understand that you have to go through the numbers game phase to beat a sniper. That's a fact. That means not leading with your wallet tricking and not allowing your dick to lead you. When you're younger, that happens. When you get older, at that point you should have had enough experiences to where, you're not led by your dick and you don't have to lead with your wallet. And you don't just have to hit up everything you see. You kind of can gauge and peep game and, let them come to you, and they will. Or at least let them give you the signals that, allows you to know that your chances of success rate is much higher. You don't just do reckless crash out shit. You know what I'm saying? But he don't got that kind of game, though. He don't. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to this other cat. So Mark Robinson. And maybe I'll open up the lines a little bit later. So Mark Robinson, I used one of his videos in the past. I forgot what the topic was. But Mark Robinson is one of those, this is the video I actually used right here. Mark Robinson is one of those Myron Gain, Jesse Lee Peterson, Sheriff Clark, Candace Owens. He's one of those, I want to be accepted by these alt-right racists, so I'm going to say everything disparaging against black people that I can, and hopefully they'll love me if I do that. Hopefully they'll forget I'm black if I do that, which never happens, right? So before we even get started, let's go ahead and play this Uncle Ruckus clip. Where we at? Do we got it? No, it's not there. Where is it? Oh, yeah. It's over here. It's over here. It's over yonder. Let's go.
Other folks talk about save me. Wasn't nothing wrong with slavery. At least we got good food back then. White man show could.
Including the African Americans.
Just don't stay too long, Dockies. Just kidding. Not really. Get your black ass out of here. Get out of here right now. What's wrong? Huh? Gun! That's what you some baton, officer. Here it is. My test results. Can you hear my heart beating? Oh, the white man science is amazing, ain't it? Oh, no. This can't be. It says I'm 102% African with a 2% margin of error. Why, Lord? Why, Lord? Why? Other folks talking about same.
All right, that's Uncle Ruckus. That's a little bit of levity, but this is serious business right here, man. This is serious because we really do have people that really think like that. We really have people that really hate themselves and hate us, and they think they can get in with white people by being the nigga that hates niggas. And they don't understand that if they're only accepting you or tolerating you only because of your ideology against your own people, that means by default they don't like your own people and they're not going to see you any different. So this is him talking about how the liberals now understand something. Typically when you hear liberals from alt-right people, liberals, left, yes, they mean politically, but they also group niggas into that as well. So this dude's going to do some dog whistling about how sometimes these liberals, these leftists, these black people who want justice, that's really what they mean, right? Because black people ain't all the way to the left. On social issues, we are left because we want justice, progression, right? But really, morally, we're more conservative. We're more less likely to accept the homosexual agendas and the transgender bullshit and all that. Abortion issue, we typically are more pro-life. So on a lot of issues, we're to the right. When it comes to social justice, yeah, we're to the left. We're progressive. Why would we be conservative about social justice when social justice typically hasn't been good to us? When we have been mistreated by law enforcement and the judicial system, no, of course we're going to be progressive. We want change in that department. But anyway, I'm just letting you see that these dog whistles, when they use these dog whistles, they're lumping us up in this. But this is Mark Robinson, the same clip that I showed you on Twitter a while back.
You know, it was a time when we used to meet evil on the battlefield, and guess what we did to it?
Oh, he's talking in reference to like lefties and the Democrat commies, and which he also refers to Martin Luther King as a commie. We'll get to that later.
We killed it. We didn't quibble about it. We didn't argue about it. We didn't fight about it. We killed it. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, what did we do? We flew to Japan. And we killed the Japanese Army and Navy. We didn't even quibble about it. I didn't start this fight. You did. You wanted to be left alone. You should have left me alone. We didn't argue and capitulate and talk about, well, maybe we shouldn't fight the Nazis that hard. No, they're bad. Kill them. Some liberal somewhere is going to say that sounds awful. Too bad. Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing. It's time for somebody to say it. It's not a matter of vengeance. It's not a matter of being mean or spiteful. It's a matter of necessity. We have wicked people doing wicked things, torturing and murdering and raping. It's time to call out those guys in green and go have them handle. Or those boys in blue and have them go handle it.
Them boys in blue. You know what he's saying right there, right? Now, here's part of the delusion that these Uncle Ruckus angry niggas don't get. White people aren't really fans of angry Negroes. Like I said, capabilities versus intentions. So his intentions may be to throw us under the bus, and that anger is directed towards that. But intentions can change. So if his capabilities are allowed to grow and get stronger, it could be a detriment to them. See, they see him angry, and we're going to show you some other things. His anger is directed mostly towards hating us, hating himself. But in their mind, they understand that this Negro should be angry at them. So to let him continue to grow in his anger and in his power and in his influence, if his intentions change, because in their mind, they're probably like flabbergasted anytime they see one of these alt-right niggas that hate themselves, they understand some of it could be a grift. I mean, that's just the lane that they figure that they can get paid in. But they understand that, yo, in reality, it's us who you should be mad at. We're the one that mistreated you, nigger. We're the one that enslaved you. We hate you too. Yes, we hate them and we hate you because you are them. That's their mentality. So he thinks that he's, you know what I'm saying? They think that they're really getting somewhere with this. I hate niggas and white people are patting me on the head. But no, just like I showed you a couple of days ago, Myron Gaines. He's played that role for the longest, but now he's going to these white spaces and they're kicking him out. They're letting him know, like, hey, thanks. I'm glad that you talk about the Jews and the blacks and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, when we take this country back, we don't want you here either. And he can't take it. Well, that's the wake-up call that all these niggas would get if the people around them were honest enough. If they feel like they're useful for a time, they'll continue to let you play that, but they'll cut you off at some point. They'll never let you get big. And they'll never let you criticize them and theirs, especially their women. And that's what these cats don't understand. So let's go ahead and get to some more. Let's get deeper into the subject of what's going on with this dude. All right. This is from TYT. Let me see here. There we go. Check this out. This is the latest going down with this particular dude who's running for governor in North Carolina, by the way.
Mark Robinson, he's out there, he's fighting. A very good man. This is Martin Luther King on steroids. I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King times 2.
So that's a cold bar right there. He said, you're better than Martin Luther King. Understand. Like, just understand the underhanded slight that is. And ironically, this dude hates Martin Luther King. He thinks he's a commie and he's a whatever, this and that, because of course, you know, anybody who's fought for our equality, you know, you can't like them. But Trump is saying you're better than Martin Luther King. This is a dude who calls himself a black Nazi, who says that he wishes slavery would come back. He would buy a few slaves if it did. Called Martin Luther King Martin Lucifer Coon. Says too bad he can't join the KKK, because if he could, this is what this dude has said, Mark Robinson. And he's being called better than Martin Luther King. I don't know if Trump knew all this stuff. I'm assuming he did. He used to be a president. He has intelligence and access to intelligence to vet anybody he wants. So I'm assuming he did, but can't prove it. So let's say he didn't. But just the idea that this is the Negro, because he's already said before all this stuff came out that you're about to see, he's already said enough vile things against black people to where you're calling him better than Martin Luther King. That says a lot. That says a lot, because it was alt-right people who killed Martin Luther King. It was white supremacists who killed Martin Luther King. So better than Martin Luther King just means that, hey, you're not a troublemaker. Anyway, we'll let it continue.
I think he's going to go down as one of the great leaders in our country. I've been with him a lot. I've gotten to know him, and he's outstanding. He's outstanding in presentation, but he's probably even more outstanding in heart. Somebody that we have to be very, very careful. We have to cherish. We have to cherish, Mark. He's a star. You have to cherish him. Amen. It's like a fine wine, because that's what you have. You have a fine wine. He's an outstanding person. I've gotten to know him so well and fairly quickly.
Fine wine is definitely a terrible way of describing the gubernatorial candidate, the Republican gubernatorial candidate for North Carolina, Mark Robinson, because CNN just published a pretty explosive report that uncovers several disgusting, vile comments that this Republican candidate made on a porn site called Nude Africa. Now, we'll get to the content warning right now, because as we give you the details, you're gonna learn about the vile things he had to say. And they're very explicit. But according to CNN, Robinson wrote the comments under the username Mini Soldier. The reason why they were able to connect that username to Robinson is because he used this moniker on other sites as well, including Ashley Madison. They also connected that moniker to his email address. He also stupidly used his full name for this porn site, his full name. And
Got him. We got him.
Got him. Got him.
See how goofy these Negroes get when they're led by their lust. You see the similarities. The similarities that you see with these cats can't be ignored. Weak-dicked, led by that, make mistakes, expose themselves, crash out their whole careers because they're led by their dick and because they don't have the sensibilities to make moves that are intelligent because they're led by their dick. That's what you're seeing right now. And then you're going to see some zestiness, which is also a characteristic. When you think about these coons and these tethers, these people that undermine us, just overwhelmingly, disproportionately, they just seem to be on the moist, zesty side. It just seems to be a pattern that I've been noticing. We'll say.
And the comments were from years ago, 2008 to 2012.
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video,
I'm gonna get into the details, starting with what he had to say about transgender people or transgender adult stars on this forum. So despite his publicly stated anti-transgender views, Robinson wrote the following on the site. Bear with me here. I like watching, he didn't
tranny porn. He likes watching tranny on girl porn.
Use the word transgender. He used a different word, but you guys can figure out what it is on girl porn. So I like watching transgender on girl porn. That's effing hot. It takes the man out while leaving the man in. And yeah, I'm a perv too.
What the fuck? Shit. God damn.
Look, I hate using. Listen, I hate the idea of our babies cussing like that. I really do. I didn't make that video. That video already exists. It's already out there. And as much as it goes against my nature to hear little kids cussing. Hey, man, sometimes there's no other way to explain what you're seeing. And this is one of those times. So what the fuck? Okay.
But publicly, he says that transgender women who use the bathroom that they identify with should be arrested. And he's used incredibly harsh language toward the transgender community. But obviously behind closed doors, that's the kind of porn he likes to consume. To be fair, he's not.
This is a tranny porn watching, self-hating Negro who wants to bring back slavery and identifies as a black Nazi. This motherfucker, there's something wrong with dude, man. This dude ain't all there. There's something wrong with this dude. Like you would assume there has to be something wrong with. I mean, that part shouldn't surprise you. Okay, he likes trannies. Okay. Like once you already have a self-hatred for yourself and that you will display that openly and live your life based on that, like that is what you're known for. That's your brand to appease white supremacists who hate your people and by default hate you. When you'll go there, the other shit ain't really as surprising, really. It's par for the course because you're obviously tweaked somewhere mentally. You're already off. Your balance isn't, you know what I'm saying? You're not as sharp as, we've already established there's something wrong with you at this point. So I don't know if that should really be a shock or not, but it just, it's just interesting, if nothing else.
Not the only Republican.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Alex shows you want to show us your phone again? Okay, so to be fair, he might watch the kind of porn where they get arrested. But guys, look, you know how Republicans are. If you don't know by now, the Republican politicians, they're all liars and they're doing the exact thing that they're warning you about almost every time. So the minute this guy starts to, oh my God, I'm worried about these LGBTQ and the transgenders. Yeah, you're worried that you're not gonna have enough porn about them to watch later tonight. So they hate themselves, so they throw it off to people. Now we got a lot more for you guys, including the Nazi stuff in a second. But I don't want you to think, oh, poor Trump, how could he have known when he thought he was better than Martin Luther King, right? he was already on the record as denying the Holocaust, saying that Michelle Obama is a man. Maybe he wanted her to be, I don't know, right? Like that, maybe he fantasized about that. Now, literally, right? Maybe that was one of the things that got him off. And then and of course, Barack Obama was one of the top ranking demons. He had theories about how the Rothschild family was running the world. So like an obvious glaring anti-Semite well before any of this came out. And Trump endorsed him anyway and said he was better than Martin Luther King.
So let's get to the topic of abortion. Now, of course, as a Republican politician, he claims to be in favor of restricting or just full out banning abortion. He says he's in favor of a 6-week abortion ban. But according to what he wrote on this porn sites forum, all right.
This nigga's writing his political views on porn sites. This nigga's writing his political views on porn sites, my nigga.
No, nigga. No. 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 Nigga. No.
Let me just give you what CNN wrote verbatim. So, but writing as mini soldier on Nude Africa in December of 2010, Robinson said he did not care about a celebrity having an abortion. Quote, "I don't care, I just want to see the sex tape," Robinson wrote.
Of course, publicly, he says he cares so much. Oh, those poor little kids that are zygotes that he has to save. In reality, he's like, I don't care at all, man, show me the sex tape. That is classic Republican politician.
Well, I mean, yes, I think you're right about that, but it's also just classic politician. Look, this is vile, so I'm not gonna equate this with like stuff that we've seen on the left. However, generally speaking, we're talking about issues here that impact people's lives deeply, right? The topic of reproductive freedom, the topic about having, healthcare available to people because this is
and he just happened to do it in a way that is enormously brazen. Where, it doesn't get any more brazen than I don't care about abortion. I just want to see the sex tape. But that could go as like a historical note on Republican politicians of my lifetime. I think that's way more the norm than it is the exception.
He had some comments making light of a woman being raped. It had to do with a taxi driver who had allegedly raped a woman who was under the influence. And in response to that, he wrote, and the moral of this story, don't F a white bitch. All right, so let's get to the racism. Robinson also wrote a number of extremely racist comments, writing in a forum discussing Black Republicans in October of 2010. He stated, unprovoked, I'm a Black Nazi.
Better than Martin Luther King, Donald Trump says.
That same month, he wrote that he advocates for the return of slavery, saying, quote, slavery is not bad. Some people need to be slaves. I wish they would bring slavery back. I would certainly buy a few.
See, that's the funny thing about Mark Robinson. He's so dumb that he doesn't realize he's Black.
Yeah, no. They're so delusional that they think because they also hate themselves and hate their people, and because in today's climate there's a role for them and a use for them, he doesn't understand that when it comes down to it, the end game is that he is still a nigga and will be treated as such. This is what Myron Gaines didn't get. This is why I showed you that clip from the last video, where Myron Gaines is entering these, he's notoriously known for being anti-Black, even though he's Sudanese. Notoriously known for being anti-Black, and he gets into these white Twitter spaces, these white supremacist Twitter spaces, I should say. And sometimes they let him go, like, okay, as long as you're just shitting on Black people and Jews, okay, fine. But sometimes they be like, yo, this is for whites only. Get this nigger out of here. Hey, I'm glad you advocate for the shit that we say, but the end game is we want to take our country back. Are you going to leave when we do? What do you mean? No, you don't get it. We don't want you here either. You're one of them. You're not special. You're not different. And that's the delusion, that this is how they fool themselves into believing that they're different. They mistake pats on the back, pats on the head, acceptance for love, toleration, I should say, for acceptance. They're tolerated. They're not accepted. They're tolerated. They're not loved or liked. They're not even really needed. They could be useful, but they don't really need them. And that's what they don't understand. So this dude's sitting there saying he's a black Nazi. What does that mean? Like, the first thing when you think Nazi, you think Hitler, you think Nazi, you think Hitler, you think white supremacist, you think Nazi, you think Hitler, white supremacist, anti those who aren't white. He says he's a black one of those. He's not saying because he hates the Jews, which maybe I don't know what his feelings on that is. He's saying basically, hey, I'm a black Confederate. Slavery ain't bad. I'm a black Nazi. I wish I could buy me some slaves. I want to be like the white men that own our people. But he's not thinking that there's a white man saying, no, nigga, I would own you. The best you could be is Steven and Django.
Like, if they brought slavery back, you're not going to get to own any slaves, you dumbass. And the minute that they took him, he would be the most shocked guy in America. He'd be like, no, I'm with you guys. I've been kissing your ass the whole time. I want to be a Nazi too, please. I thought I was with you. And then when he's in chains, he's totally flabbergasted. But I was helping you hate black people.
Can we just, look, this is really dark, disgusting stuff. I just want to take a little bit of a break from it to acknowledge the fact that he really is dumb. He really is. First of all, what are you doing participating in a forum on a porn site? Like, I get that people do that, but maybe don't do that. And if you're gonna do that, maybe don't use your first and last name.
And maybe don't run for lieutenant governor and then governor after you've done that.
Now, by the way, I should note, CNN reached out to him for comment. His campaign didn't reach back out to them until like 2 days later. And he vehemently denies this. He denies that it's him. This is all made up. It's tabloid trash. But it seems like CNN did their due diligence here. Because,
not only do they have the receipts, guys, the same guy who denied the Holocaust and say the Rothschilds run the world, you're surprised that he calls himself a black Nazi behind the scenes? Pretty much admits it in front of the scenes.
Unfortunately, there's more. So in a series of 7 posts in October of 2011, Robinson disparaged Martin Luther King in such intense terms, calling him a commie bastard, worse than a maggot.
Worse than a maggot. Damn.
A ho effing phony and a huckster that a user in the thread accused him of being in the KKK. Robinson responded by directing a slur at King.
Martin Luther King 2.0. Martin Luther King on steroids. I've only known one person that I would say maybe they're better than Martin Luther King, probably Nelson Mandela, right? To take this guy, a rabid anti-Semite who's already said disgusting things about LGBT community and about everyone, and to say that he's better than Martin Luther King, you have to understand how mentally deranged a human being has to be to call this guy better than Martin Luther King. Donald Trump doesn't care. He's like, hey, there's a black guy who likes me. I bet he's better than Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King wouldn't have liked me.
All right, speaking of Martin Luther King, let's get to some of the things that he actually said about Martin Luther King. We already seen some of it, right? MLK was an inferior pastor and communist. That's what he said, right? Let me see. We already seen most of it. So this dude was, okay, Martin Luther King Jr. was just the ersatz pastor, which means inferior, and a communist. And the 60s civil rights movement was crap. This is what this dude is saying. The 60s civil rights movement, where we were busting heads, you know what I'm saying, where we radically changed things, right? We weren't allowed to drink from the same water fountain or sit where we want on public transportation we paid for. Hell, in some places, we weren't allowed to be born in hospitals. If you're like me and your family's from the South, your mom might not have been born in a hospital. Not because it was safer and better to have the babies at home. I know we like to pretend like, oh, it's better we're home nursed and all that. No, it was better to be born in a hospital. You had a better chance of surviving. We weren't allowed to be born in hospitals. You go back far enough, you go back just to my parents, their parents. They weren't allowed to go to doctors. They had to go to vets to get work done if they had a problem. He's calling the civil rights movement crap. He's calling somebody who died for us, knowing he wasn't going to be able to see the change that was going to come, but he sacrificed his own life. I'm talking about MLK. He called him a commie. But Ersatz pastor. The nerves of these Negroes, man. I'm just saying. Robinson, who's currently the state lieutenant governor, regularly criticized King and the civil rights movement for years on Facebook, specifically on MLK Day. This is why I hate when these misguided, ignorant, so-called pro-blacks, every time MLK Day comes around, oh, MLK wasn't hard enough. Oh, they gave us MLK Day instead of Malcolm X Day. Shut up, man. First of all, they didn't give us MLK Day. We took it. We made that a thing. They only recognized it in the 90s. They didn't give us that day. King wasn't no sucker. Even if you don't agree with the nonviolence like I don't, you don't ever disrespect somebody who stomped and stood on business to their death for your future. You don't disrespect MLK when you benefit from his existence. Because you wasn't born in a living room. You were born in a hospital. If you want to say that he's the one that made integration happen, which isn't true, he was fighting for integration of social services that we pay taxes for. Yes, it also integrated everything else, but it ain't his fault that you don't bank black. You could bank black easier now than ever. It ain't his fault if you don't buy black and use black services and products. It ain't his fault. You have more access to that today than ever before. Back in the days, if you didn't live in a neighborhood with a black bank, you couldn't probably bank black without driving way across town. If you wanted to patronize a black restaurant or a black business, you may have had to drive all the way across town. These days, you can just get on the internet. So if you're really about that business of delineating and you know, black first, you can do that. So don't start coming with that. I hate to hear that MLK was the worst thing. Oh, he's a sucker. Oh, no. If you want a Malcolm X Day, we already have a Malcolm X Day. It's May 19th. Maybe you don't participate in it. I don't mean it doesn't exist. We don't need them to validate what holidays, what holy days we observe, or which one of our ancestors we revere. We don't need their permission to do that. We got to get out that mind state, man. Juneteenth has been a thing before they made it a federal holiday. It was already a thing. For over 100 years, it's been a thing. I've celebrated it several times before it was a federal holiday. I lived in Houston for a couple of years. I went to some things out there. Emancipation Park, 3rd Ward. They've been doing that for over 100 years before it was federally recognized. Federal recognition doesn't make it a thing. We make it a thing. Anyway, I don't want to get too much on that. Specifically, okay. HuffPost found amid reviews of his post, the black politician also downplayed slavery, rejected the idea that he's part of the African American community. So he's delineated from us, and attacked the late congressman and civil rights icon John Lewis. These posts are surfacing at a time when Robinson, who was on track to be the GOP nominee for governor in November, has been trying to soften his rhetoric and celebrate King and the civil rights movement. So he's been trying to make a pivot, right? And nah, nigga. Last month, former President Donald Trump hailed him, saying he's better than the MLK. We already seen all that. January 2018, Robinson mocked people who celebrate King, and he said, who he said was just a subpar pastor. He didn't mention King by name, but he was clearly talking about the civil rights leader in a series of messages posted on MLK Day that year. It is at once funny and sad that so many people who follow the lead of a bunch of atheists and worship an ersatz or inferior pastor as a deity. So he's just taking shots at King all day. MLK, that's what he does, right? This is the same dude who also watches tranny porn, right? So, these cats are crashing out. See, because this kind of stuff makes him useless to even the Republican alt-right who he's trying to cater to. This is cold-blooded right here. He said, just because you got beat up by some Democrats in 65 doesn't mean that you can't get criticized by some Republicans in 2017. He's talking about John Lewis. That's kind of cold, but But the point is this, man. Okay, here we go. African Americans don't realize that the real civil rights movement started in the 1860s. That crap was in the 1860s. In the 1960s was a communist rise movement. Okay. This is the same dude who said that we should bring back slavery. Some people should be slaves, and he would buy some slaves. And he's a black Nazi, and he likes tranny porn. He also said something about looking in that, like something about he has a hankering, like he's turned on by the thought of peeping through girls' bathrooms like he did when he was 14. He still thinks about that and fantasizes about it. So he's whacking off to remembering looking at 14-year-olds and shit. Like, these guys always have this weird shit in them. It shouldn't surprise you. But the good thing is these cats crash out. And when they crash out, they render themselves useless. This is the beauty of the new black media, this delineation, this movement, this paradigm shift, this spiritual awakening that's happening in 2024 where things are being revealed. Because now we're starting to see what it is. We're starting to see that these cats who are so avidly against us, and it's worked at a time, but now that we can control our own narrative, we can make these cats useless. This is why these Democratic shills become useless. Yeah, we're talking about the Mark Lamont shills, the Roland Martins, the Michael Eric Dysons, from both sides of the game. They become useless because they don't have influence over us, because now we're marching to our own drum. Now we're not accepting those who are put up to represent us, who misrepresent us. Now we're doing like what Farrakhan said. Just being black isn't enough to be a brother. It's not enough. We're not just all inclusive to black skin. We tried that. It didn't work because there's always infiltrators, even from our own lineage and especially from without our lineage. So now you have to have the same type of mindset. We have to be like-minded. Yeah, you could be from wherever you're from. Of course, we're going to look out for our FBA first because that's our family. That's our immediate lineage. But it don't even matter. You could be from beyond our lineage if your mind state is right. Because just like we have those from our own lineage who will go against the grain against us to appease white supremacists, unfortunately, there are some that will come from foreign lands that look like us who will do the same thing. And at this point, it doesn't matter if it's out of ignorance or out of hatred, because it all boils down, the effect is the same. So it's good that these cats are being called out. And like Professor Black Truth says, white supremacy always breaks their tools at the end of the day. They're going to break you. They'll use you. You could be a crash dummy for them, but at some point, you're just a tool and they will break you. Well, they will discard you, and they'll discard you based on the principle that I said before. because they gauge your capabilities over your intentions. Your intentions may be well. Your intentions may be to serve them to the end of time. They can't let you get too big, because if so, your capabilities become a detriment. So they have to break you at some point, because your intentions can change. We can't let you get no nukes, even if you don't intend to use them against us. If we let you get them, you have the capability to use them against us, and your intentions could always change. That's the idea. Let's see what he had to say, though. Let's go ahead. You want to see what he had to say? Let's hear it.
And has become a friend of mine,
Lieutenant
Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. Martin Luther King on steroids. You are Dr. Martin Luther King on steroids. That's how good you are. Martin Luther King times 2.
That you would portray a black man just because he's in the GOP as a Klansman.
And then as detrimental in the black community as a stick of dynamite chuck from the Ku Klux Klan.
We have to cherish Martin to start. You have to cherish him.
Called to be led by men, not DeVita, David. I absolutely want to go back to the America where women couldn't vote.
You're a very popular guy, Mark.
There's no reason anybody anywhere in America should be telling any child about transgenderism, homosexuality, any of that filth. If there's a movement in this country that is demonic and that is full of the spirit of Antichrist, it is the transgender movement.
The next governor of North Carolina, Mark Robinson.
You got a friend in me.
All right, I was trying to find him denying all this shit. Let me see if I can find it real quick. See if we can find it. Just give me a second, y'all. Is this the one? Oh no, that's the one we just watched. That ain't the one, y'all. Hold up. There's one where he's denying it, basically saying, "No, that's not me. I didn't make those comments." And blah, 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 blah. Let me see if this is it.
Some people need to be slaves. Tonight, Republican candidate Mark Robinson vowing to stay in the race for governor in North Carolina, vehemently denying an explosive new report purporting to show dozens of his disturbing comments online.
They want to focus on salacious tabloid lies. We're not going to let them do that. We are staying in this race. We are in it to win it.
The current lieutenant governor facing a swirl of speculation about the fate of his campaign after CNN today published what it called a series of inflammatory comments on a pornography website's message board more than a decade ago, before Robinson began his political career. NBC News has not verified the authenticity of the posts. CNN says include Robinson referring to himself as a black Nazi and expressing support for reinstating slavery. Writing, "Slavery is not bad. Some people need to be slaves. I wish they would bring it back. I would certainly buy a few." CNN also reporting Robinson, who publicly supports a 6-week ban on abortion with exceptions, wrote that he did not care if a celebrity got an abortion, writing, quote, "I don't care, I just want to see the sex tape." CNN says the comments were all made under the same username. and that Robinson used it elsewhere on the internet, including product reviews on Amazon. But tonight, Robinson blasting it as tabloid trash.
Let me reassure you, the things that you will see in that story, those are not the words of Mark Robinson. You know my words, you know my character, and you know that I have been completely transparent in this race and before.
No stranger to polarizing comments, Robinson has come under scrutiny in the past for calling the Holocaust hogwash, which he later said was a poorly worded remark that wasn't anti-Semitic.
Come November, I plan on being the first black governor of North Carolina.
He's a social conservative who's been endorsed by former President Trump.
This is Martin Luther King on steroids, okay?
North Carolina, a battleground state in the presidential race, but a tough one for Democrats, who haven't won it since 2008.
And Laura, the Trump campaign weighing in here tonight?
Yes, Lester, the Trump campaign saying the former president is focused on winning North Carolina. Meanwhile, if Robinson were to get out of this race, he only has until 11:59 tonight if Republicans have any hopes of replacing him as their nominee.
All right, Laura Jarrett, thanks very much. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and time.
Let's get to some of these comments real quick. Let's see. Says we are Don P says we are liberal when it comes to social justice. That's it. For the most part, we are conservative. I agree with that. For the most part, we are. But on social justice, we are very liberal for obvious reasons. So when you hear some of these cats when they use these terminologies, and I don't really like using those terminologies because I don't like to think of myself as in a box. Right? I'm going to go for what's best, my best interest, the best interest of my people overall. But yes, when it comes to social justice, obviously we're more liberal because we're progressive, to say the least. We're progressive. We want progression. At one point we were enslaved. Of course, we don't want to be conservatives and stay there. We want to progress to equality, to power, to justice, all that stuff. So when you hear some of these right wingers, when they're talking that liberal, commie, liberal, this and that, what they're really saying is, how dare anyone want black people to be equal? That's basically what they're saying. That's why I said, like, the reason why we may decide to vote Republican, to me, this is just more proof why I can't fuck with either side. Neither side has given me enough to say I'm going to vote for them. That's me personally. Because even if I agreed with some of the Republican politics, immigration, they don't really push that rainbow committee at us like that. Even if I wanted to support a Trump, even if I was to do that, and if you want to do that, that's your business. Just understand, you supporting Trump would likely or should be for different reasons than the average poor white trash votes for Trump. Our criticism for Kamala Harris and why we may not support Kamala Harris is much different than why they don't like Kamala Harris. They don't like Kamala Harris because she's not a white man, period. For many of them, that's just where the line is drawn. We don't like Joe Biden because we know he's a racist who wrote the crime bill and practices benign neglect on our people. They know he wrote the crime bill. I'm talking about like alt-right racists. They know he wrote that crime bill. They know he's a bigot. The reason they don't like him is because he won't stand on business about his bigotry optically. So because he's a Democrat and he stands in the legacy of Barack Obama, he has to pretend that he's down with the Black Lives Matter. And I got to get this non-white vice president. I got to play the game like I'm down with the brothers. They don't like him. They don't like him because he'll even do that. They know he's a bigot. They don't even like the idea that he'll pretend that he's not. They like to stand on business with somebody who's going to dog whistle and say the things that make them feel good. They practice identity politics. I know they say that we practice identity politics. We're always going to vote for the black. We're always going to vote for the Democrat. And there's truth to that. But they do the same thing. I mean, you got to think about the mind fuckery involved in poor white trash people supporting Trump when none of his policies would help them. None of them. Trump's policies are to give tax cuts to the rich, blah, 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 has nothing to do with poor people, white or black. Let's just be real. I'm not even saying that I want Kamala to win. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying I'm voting for Republicans or Trump. I'm just saying, truthfully speaking, because it's not just us who falls for the Kamala's black. Oh, wow, she's Jamaican. Her family's from, she's non-white. And a lot of us, especially the 85%, the sheep, will gravitate toward just because of that. And I know that some of us that may be more enlightened or more conscious or can see the different layers in the games they're playing, we may not agree with that, but understand that a lot of us, just by default, they're going to see that and gravitate towards that. The same way Donald Trump saying certain things, his vice president acting like he's a poor white trash from the Appalachian Mountain. He's a poor white hillbilly, which is cap, but he's appealing to the same type of people that Kamala Harris is able to appeal to on the other side. So they play identity politics. So our reasons for supporting a political party will be different than other people's. So understand that, just so you can play the game properly, just so we can have a sophisticated strategy in how we maneuver politically. Because I see a lot of our people that will take the Mark Robinson route. Oh, we're not going to mess with the Democrats. Okay, then Trump. And then we're just going to believe every goofy lie that Trump says. We're going to think that we can rub shoulders with these alt-right white supremacist dudes. And it's not going to work like that. If we want to play the long game and say, hey, we have to sabotage and crash out the Democrats to shake them up, to make them act right. And that means that maybe we got to support the Republicans this round to do that. So be it. But don't do it with the mind frame that you're just believing all the goofy shit they're saying. Just stand on the business that, hey, I just want to support Trump because fuck the Democrats for right now, so we can crash them out. Just say that. Don't start regurgitating all these talking points that are lies, because you're going to program yourself to accept the fugazi, and that's not going to be helpful in the long run. Anyway, let me see what else we got. Miss Cool J, that fits the bill. Self-hating and trannies have something in common. Yeah. Yeah, facts. They didn't accept themselves, right? Jenks, dumb, acting like black people didn't own slaves in the United States. Yeah, maybe, I guess. There's not, I mean, I'm not, that's not something that I'm about to, you know what I'm saying? Sure, maybe some did. But for the subject or conversation of reparations, because I know a lot of people, I know you don't mean it that way, perhaps, but a lot of people, when we speak about reparations, they'll be like, okay, what about the blacks that own slaves? Do they got to pay? Yeah, if you can find them, they got to pay reparations too. It was still part of the system at the end of the day. So if black people own slaves, that has nothing to do with the reparations conversation. I don't think that's where you're going with it. But I don't know, Jank, if Jank knows that black people own slaves or not. But I don't think that there's a significant number of those that I would never concede that. Because a lot of times when I hear that argument, it's almost a way of minimizing slavery and the responsibility of the government by state sanctioning it and the corporations that profited from it. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. What's up, Yvette? I didn't plan on being on here too long, y'all. I do got to move around a little bit. But let me see what else we got. What will be showing? It's on the tab right here. This is 17 of the most blatant batshit things that NC Republican governor. So anyway, let me just wrap it up like this, man. The bottom line is these cats are being aired out. We will continue to see this. You're going to continue to see these crash outs. See, we've been ahead of the game as FBA because we've been intimately close. And I don't mean that, you know what I'm saying? We've been here on this land dealing with these people. So we have a different understanding of who they are, the games they play, how they think, what type of propaganda we're against, what type of different warfare that we have going on with these people. We understand how they work at a level that others don't. When I say others, I mean those who come here, you know, from Africa or the Caribbean or wherever. They don't have the nuance of how this racism, white supremacy works here. They fled from where they were at because they didn't want to deal with it. So they can't have the proper insight to be able to guide us through this. No one can. So we knew that this day was coming. We knew that these cats were going to crash out. This is why we said, hey, y'all going on over there. Y'all think that you're going to put on the cape and you're going to be their number one pet. It doesn't work like that. This is why Professor Black Truth always says, hey, they will break their tools at some point. They always do, because we've seen it happen. We've seen the COINTELPRO. We've seen how their playbook ain't changed. In all of these years, their playbook has not changed. We understand that. That's why we're able to maneuver and, you know, get some dubs, because we know their playbook. So we know what's coming. This is why we delineate, so we could strategize and counter the shit. These guys think that there's a cheat code to this, that all they have to do is shit on us and then they'll be good. This is what these coons think, because they're so simple-minded. This is what these tellers think. This is what these shills think, because they're not really interested in changing the system. They just want to fit into the system. That's the difference between a revolutionary and a conformist. We're not trying to conform. We're trying to change this shit. Revolution, complete and constructive change. We can't just get in and tinker a little bit. This is a systematic machine. You can change the cogs. You can change the wheels. It's going to operate the way it was built to operate. You have to change the whole operation. You have to break this shit down and rebuild it, replace it, which is a big task. It's a heavy task. It's a task that won't happen overnight. It's a task that some of our ancestors have already laid the groundwork and has been working on for generations now. We wish to continue in that path, not to conform. These other guys come here, they want to conform for the most part. So in their conformity, that means that they see us as opposition, because we're trying to crash down what they want to come in and conform to. They came all the way from overseas to come here to play ball with these white supremacists. And we're saying, no, we're trying to tear this shit down. So of course they see us as the ops. You guys complain too much, niggas. You don't work hard enough, niggas. We do better than you. You guys quit begging for reparations. The white man didn't. Yeah. A good white man. He's a good white folk around here. And we're like, no, we're trying to tear all this shit down. Give us what's ours. We'll knock everything off the motherfucking table right now. Energy. Black Air Force, dirty black Air Force One energy. That's what we are. So I love seeing these cats, dominoes start to fall, implode on themselves and each other. It's supposed to happen. Yeah, the shills that act like they're down with us and they're really just trying to mislead us, they got to go. The ones who are just outwardly against us, they got to go. We got to knock them all out of the position, knock them all out the way. That's what's in the midst right now. That's what's going on right now. That's the importance of us controlling our own narrative. We couldn't have done it without that. See, in the 60s, you couldn't really get information unless you got it word to mouth. You can get it in print media locally. Like, Black Panthers have their own whatever paper. But for the most part, 99% of it, if it wasn't on TV, you didn't know it. If it wasn't on the radio, you didn't know it. There was no internet. There was no way for somebody in Kansas to know exactly what's going on in real time in LA unless it was being covered on the news. See, now we can communicate, we can share things, we can collaborate in real time. We can share ideas in real time with people thousands of miles away. We can react to, we can create our own narrative. We can create our own propaganda, proper propaganda, as Khalid Abdul Muhammad would say. The honorable, late and great. So now we have the ability to control our own narrative, control our own flow of information, to challenge narratives that go against us, to preserve our history and document our now for the future. We have access to information like never before. Yeah, MLK used to be down with Gandhi. He didn't have access to the information that would let him know that Gandhi was racist. A lot of the Black Panthers and Black revolutionaries, they dabbled in Marxism. They didn't understand Karl Marx was a racist and all that. They didn't have the access to that information. We didn't have access to the information to know that, hey, we actually are the indigenous here, as well as mixed with some that may have came from Africa. But we've really been here for a minute. We didn't have that type of information that we have now. So at this point, it makes it our obligation to use what we have. Nat Turner only could go, Nat Turner could only do what he did. That there was no other, Nat Turner couldn't have boycotted to try to get freedom. The only thing he could have did was grab the hatchet and get ratchet. Grab the gun and have some fun. That's the only choice he had. It's the only choice the rebellions back then had. There was no other way. We couldn't vote our way. We couldn't just put our money together in a black bank and build up our wealth in our community. We couldn't do none of that. Now we have access to things that we didn't then. For us not to use it would be treacherous, would be betrayal of our ancestors. We tap into that revolutionary ancestral realm. The ones that fought back, the ones that contributed to a better future for our people. The ones that knew that they may not be able to see the end result of their work, but they were willing to thug it out and sacrifice for the rest of us. That's why we don't allow people to disrespect our ancestors. Even if we don't agree, I don't care. You don't agree with MLK's philosophy. You give a fuck. If you ain't did nothing he's done, you ain't got the balls he had, you don't have the courage he did. You didn't have the integrity to, once you learn a better way, to pivot. Most of y'all niggas can't even admit when you're wrong. Let's be real. That's why we don't allow that disrespect. We'll put some spec on the FBA name, man. Anyway, shout out to you, Yvette. Everybody else, make sure you like all that good stuff. Subscribe. I don't want this to be too long, so I'm just going to go ahead and end it like that. See if I got anything to end it with, though, man. I guess we're just going to run this one back, man. We're going to run this one back. Let's go.
We all not gonna be together. This ain't no damn unity party with punks. This ain't no unity party with people who don't want the true liberation of black people. This ain't no unity party with betrayers and snitchers and hypocrites and weak-minded, weak-blooded, spineless black people. This ain't that kind of party. So you take your raggedy ass on home. But those who want liberation, those who want to see black people really unite the like-minded of us, whether we are Christians or Muslims or nationalists or agnostics or socialists. If we are like-minded on reparations and on justice for our people, we are brothers indeed. But a black face ain't gonna make you no brother today. Go ahead. We tired of these black-faced, white-hearted niggas. Go ahead, say that. Masquerading as though you love your people. We see you.